Alright, Schlockmeister fans, we're gonna watch something here I don't think I've ever seen before, even though I thought I did. Intimate games. Let's check it out.
Everyone has their own sexual fantasies. Rich or poor, old or young, a person's sexual feelings are the mainspring of his or her personality complex. When you're out in the streets, look around you. Try to imagine how the man in the street copes with the pressures of everyday business. So good?
This movie is about sexual fantasies.
But bad temper is a show to cover his guilt. And what he cannot, or thinks he cannot do in reality, he can do in fantasy. These are the intimate games we play by the power of our own imagination.
We now take you to a school where the professor has an interesting project for other kids.
Start with your friends, each other, but the other must be found outside the confines of this college. Now, to save argument, I think I'd better pay you off.
Get your pen out.
They're supposed to report on other people's sexual fantasies.
The first sexual fantasy I ever had, I suppose, although I didn't realize it at the time, was when I was about 8.
Here's another.
Hi. Analyze me.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
So he interviews this bosomy lady
Are you ready?
about her fantasies.
There's one fantasy I've always had, ever since I was a little girl. I don't know when it started. Probably after seeing Zulu on television.
She wants to be ravaged by Zulu warriors.
In the distance, I hear the drums. I've heard them before, but they're getting louder and louder and louder. God, I think, what's going to happen to me? And then I seem to break clear onto a kind of jungle plain.
She continues her story, and as you can imagine, she's gotten pretty worked up. And this is about all I can show you. These two talk about
Both you
lesbians.
men are. Oh, I'd be disgusted if I was approached by, a real dyke. All trousers, short hair, and a gruffy voice. I wouldn't mind an experience with a pretty girl.
You can see where this is going. Well, actually, you can't see where it's going. I can.
Is it?
Just use your imagination.
Darling, it's an experiment. What am I supposed to do? Nothing.
Next, we find ourselves in a cab where a woman's getting a little randy.
You know what? Well, the only shit you know you do now is...
This guy's feeling up the lady in church choir. This guy even interviews his dad.
Oh, eh? Yeah. Funny sort of thoughts. Not to do with pigeons at all. Oh, eh? Must be very interesting, this psychology game, what makes people think.
Dear Professor Gottlieb, during the holiday I took on a part-time job helping in a bar. And whenever possible, I tried to find out from people what their fantasies were. One lady I found very helpful was Beryl, who also worked there.
Well, see that woman's fantasy played out, which is her, well, like you see her.
Practice alone.
This guy's imagining a fun time with this female he's playing pool with.
Do you? About
Pretty
sex?
soon he's going to imagine her pulls right off.
Good heavens, no.
It was just by chance that I managed to interview a subject concerning her fantasies. It was a friend of the family whom I know extremely well.
It's a chat where she mentioned an
But he
imaginary
freed me from all
lover.
that.
Oh,
Told me to take a lover.
He did what?
In a way. What he said was that it was because of the frustration that I wanted a lover, but I wouldn't even admit that to myself. And it was that repression which caused the breakdown.
Well, that's...
Ideal sexual
This guy wants
situation
a big woman.
would be to have a huge woman in a huge setting, something like an empty theatre. And then, though he did not actually say this in so many words, to have a huge sexual experience with her. He did say that he would like to have a huge audience. I suppose.
Now we'll start directly.
Back in the classroom now.
But first I'll take any questions that you may have. Yes, ma'am.
You know what you just said, sir, about how we must all be absolutely honest with each other?
Yes?
Well, sir, could you tell us what kind of sexual fantasies you have?
All night.
Next thing you know, he mentions all of
Well,
the
look, professionally, you
students
understand?
topless in class, the female students.
Susie, do you know what I think? Do you really want to know? Well, I can't. It would...
And then with his imagination running wild, he can't control himself.
We all know what the overcreation of fantasy is called. It is called madness.
For our last scene in the film, our dear professor being taken away to the nut house. All right, let's talk about intimate games. You know, I have a very large movie list. I've been collecting movies since the 80s, and I have acquired quite a few. And I keep them on a spreadsheet. I list them on a spreadsheet, and I have a yes or no next to all of them, whether or not I've seen the movie. I've seen almost all my films. This one had a yes next to it, but you know what? I don't think I actually saw this one. I think I made a mistake on my list. Probably the only mistake, right? But anyway, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen this movie before. I've owned the DVD for probably 20 plus years. Jezebel put this out. Jezebel put out some pretty good stuff, by the way. A lot of these British type saucy films, including this one. Now, the reason I have this film is because I made a couple of lists when I was back in the late 80s. I looked back through all the old cable guides that was for the premium channels that we had. And I wrote down any movie that if it ever came back, I would tape it. Little years later, taping went away and came to DVD collecting instead. But there was a movie called Intimate Games, which is right here. There was also a movie called Sex Games of the Very Rich. Sex Games of the Very Rich is also Intimate Games, same movie. So I had the movie listed on there twice. Didn't know it at the time, but I know it now, thanks you, IMDb. So anyway, this is one of those saucy 70s British movies. Not really a comedy, although it is got some elements to it. It's basically about sexual fantasies. There's a professor in college who basically is telling his students to have this project where they interview people about their sexual fantasies. And then we sometimes see some of those fantasies played out, but mostly it's just the people who are describing these fantasies. We do see them played out sometimes, although sometimes they just get hot and bothered while they're telling the story and they end up sleeping with the interviewer. So that happens. There's a lesbian scene that happens too. It's just basically people copulating. Actually, I shouldn't say that. There's more nudity than there is actual lovemaking, I guess you could say. But that's pretty much the film. At the end of the movie, they're back in the classroom, and one of the kids asks the professor, "What's your sexual fantasies?" And he stumbles a little bit and doesn't really want to reveal anything. But then we see through his eyes, and he's imagining all the females in the classroom, all the women, completely naked. So we see those scenes played out. And the next thing you know, he loses control and jumps on one of his students, one of the girls, and starts to rip her top off. She is wearing a bra. So there was no nude scene right there, although we did see her nude in the fantasy just moments earlier. So, and then the last scene, we see him being taken away in an ambulance, presumably to a funny farm where he can recover. There you go. That is Intimate Games, otherwise known as Sex Games of the Very Rich. Was this a good movie? No. But there was enough nudity in this film to keep you interested, at least for a while. And it's a short movie, only 83 minutes. You know what you're getting into when you watch a movie like Intimate Games. Now, I haven't looked it up yet, but I will, and I'll leave a link down below. Jezebel, I don't think this company exists anymore, but they had a lot of quality movies just like this one. Hard to find stuff. I've got all the ones that I need, but the last time I looked on some of these, they're very expensive. They're all out of print, and they're just hard to find, and you're going to pay a lot for them. So this is probably no exception, but again, I'm not sure. Click that link if you're interested. And you know what? Check it out. It's for what it is, it's decent, and you can't go wrong with it. There you go. Intimate Games, Sex Games of the Very Rich, 1976, I believe. Leave some comments and know what you think about it. Watch it. Bye.